Hello and welcome to another episode of the Contractor Grow Show. My name is Mark Lamberth. I'm your host. And today I'm speaking with Mike Williams at Alder Creek Landscaping in Boise. Mike, thanks so much for being with us today.
Of course. Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear from your words the services that you provide for your customers.
I'm a predominantly landscape installation company. I do uh, paver patios, pathways, water features. Right now, specializing in new construction and remodel.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, sprinklers. Pretty much everything landscaping on a new construction home.
Okay, fantastic. So you're doing landscaping for new construction, new builds.
Predominantly. Yep. And also remodels. No maintenance or none of that.
Okay, fantastic. And what is the mix of just doing landscaping versus do you do any type of hardscaping at all?
I do hardscaping. Yeah, paver patios, pathways. It tends to not be my biggest focus, although it is what I like the most.
Okay. Interesting. Do you do with hardscaping stuff? Do you guys do any type of building out like pavilions, pagodas, any type of that type of construction?
Some, yeah, yep. Pergolas, lattices. I do a lot of lattices for vines and stuff.
Okay, great. And then what is your service area around Boise?
I go up as far as McCall, a mountain town, Cascade, Garden Valley, and then Nampa, Meridian, Boise. Pretty much, they call it the Treasure Valley. I don't know how familiar you are with the area.
Not a ton.
Yeah, it's called the Treasure Valley. There's about 6 or 8 little towns, kind of suburbs, real close to Boise.
Okay, fantastic. And how'd you get into the landscaping world here?
I was born on, raised on a sod farm, basically. So I kind of been doing it my entire life.
No kidding.
Yep, yep. My first job was in the nursery of the sod farm that I grew up on. I was getting to stack pallets of sod when I was a little kid, and then my first job was in the nursery, watering plants and selling plants and loading cars, and then I went and worked at Fred Meyer in the electronics department for a minute, and then started actually doing the install side of the job.
Interesting. And then realize, man, I already know the landscaping world really well, and I'm going to go over there and start my own business.
Yeah, in 2000, early 2000s, I worked for a company for 8 years, and they taught me the trade on the install side. Uh, And then when the housing market crashed, we slowed down. I got a job offer for a sign company. I went and did that for 4 months, and then waited 2 years for the no compete. And in 2010, I started my business, Alder Creek
Oh man,
Landscaping. Yeah,
love it. And how many folks do you have on your team these days?
I've got. I'm trying to shoot for a consistent four, but right now at the moment we have two. Keeping guys is tough. Digging holes is tough. Tough
Uh
work.
huh. And we talked a little bit about this before the show. Did you say? I mean, regarding hiring, it's a little more challenging because it's not always easy to find the Hispanic crew that you're looking for.
That's what I'm looking for. Those guys tend to work well. I have a Spanish speaking head guy, head crew kind of lead. He does speak pretty good English too, but yeah, it would be nice to have them all. I'm not really particular. That's what has been easier to find and keep.
Uh huh. Got it. Great. And then how have you grown the business so far?
Predominantly word of mouth. This year was my first year uh really needing to advertise. So I got a website set up. I actually got the company name put on my truck this year. But realistically, it's only been word of mouth.
Uh huh. Interesting. So you've been able to grow the business. I mean, you haven't really had a website even until recently, but you've been able to grow it really well with word of mouth.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah.
Uh
Yep.
huh.
Charging fair prices and in doing high quality landscapes.
Love it. And then, so I mean, it sounds like you work a lot with kind of new home builders, maybe developers. How have you found those clients, and what does that relationship look like?
They're actually really nice. I really enjoy installing things for people and being a good dude. Really like making people happy. The challenge with like remodels is how often you bid, how often there's changes in the job site, and how much time is required of me. versus these builders, after you get the initial sale and they decide that they're who you want to hire, then they continually call you back. And so they're the ones reaching out to me.
Mhm.
And that also it has a smaller need for marketing as well.
Uh-huh. So do you need to do, um, I mean, do you ultimately need to do quotes and bids for the builders, or at this point, do they just know, what your work looks like and know more or less what the cost is going to be?
Yeah, yep. It varies from builder to builder, but typically give them a standardized pricing for products, a 1 gallon shrub, um, this many square feet per yard. I've done it in the past where a front yard install costs this much, a backyard install costs this much, and on some jobs we make more, and on some jobs we make less. The smaller ones you make more on for the same price, and then the larger ones you make less, but it evens out. I've done that as well.
Uh-huh. Gotcha. So regarding the like hardscaping type stuff, yeah, I've always been really fascinated by hardscaping, and I mean, if I was going to go back into the trades, that's probably what I would do myself. And landscapers and folks doing hardscaping, I mean, they always seem like they have the most fun of everybody that I talk to. Why does the hardscaping side of things? Why are you drawn to that?
I kind of in my entire life, my stepdad was the framer, and my real dad was the one that worked on the sod farm. My entire life, though, I've been around it, measurements and doing all that stuff. The cuts come really easy for me.
Hmm.
So it makes it really easy. And this is a silly little joke, but it makes it really easy to make them look nice. And then the joke part is people can't kill them.
Right.
A lot of my plant material I warranty because they get overwatered or something along those lines.
Uh-huh.
And I've actually never had to come back to a paver job and do any warranty work. They just are really easy for me to do a good job on, and I've never had to come back to one.
Hilarious. And I mean, it's also interesting you're working it, outside of someone's space. I mean, as far as the trades go, being, not being in someone's house or kind of like having to deal with them seems like a major perk to the job.
It is. It is. The office part is the worst part of my job. I really enjoy the outside part of it, and I also do enjoy the creating and creating art. I really think that they're all art. You can do a lot of neat stuff with hardscaping as well as landscaping, but hardscapes you can really they just stay clean and they stay nice for a long time.
Oh man, that's awesome. So regarding in the landscaping kind of industry or niche, I mean, it's fairly competitive. Have you run into any um, competitors? Run into like competing bids? I mean, does that ever come up much, or you just kind of have your thing figured out, and the customers that you work with, and that just doesn't really show up in your business?
No, it's just about every single job. Trying to be competitive and yeah, yeah, no, it is. It's just about every single job. I think that that's where I've had to grow the most is in communicating and talking to people in the sales aspect of things.
Uh
Tend to be
huh.
a little bit like I don't know, raw maybe, or I don't have the kid gloves like for sales. I say what I think, and then I tell people when they're bad ideas that they're bad ideas, and I could probably work on my delivery a little better.
Do people? I bet people respect you for that, though. Do the people tell you they appreciate that?
A lot do.
Uh huh.
And then the people that don't, I don't get the job. So,
So
you
kind of
win some, you lose
self-selecting
some.
there.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love
Yep.
it. Well, great. And we talked a little bit about, I mean, you're here over the next few years, you're looking to grow the business. What are you thinking about in terms of growth? I mean, why grow it, and what are some targets or just some thoughts you have around that?
I'll get a little bit personal with it to let you know because the real motivator is personal. Last year, my dad had a heart attack. He was a handyman.
Mm.
After doing the sod company thing, he started his own handyman business. Um, really being a fair guy, ultra low pricing, just enough to get by and pay his bills, and no real thoughts on retirement. And he had a heart attack a year or two ago, and with the medical complications, he's not been able to do the handyman stuff anymore, climb ladders and do those things. And he has nothing to fall back on as far as retirement or anything goes, and his living situation's been a real challenge, and it really opened my eyes to the importance of growing the business. And I think as a small business trying to be competitive with these larger guys, I think a lot of the costs are offset by creating a second or third crew,
Uh-huh.
versus the high upfront cost of just one crew and the amount of volume, so many guys can only install so much work. And so there's in that regard, there's a limit as to how much work can be completed. Um, and I think that the best way to stay competitive price wise, because it is so competitive, like we discussed, would be to start a second crew and keep those prices low and just double the volume.
Uh-huh.
And that hopefully gets me to a retirement position in a state where if I have a heart attack in my early 60s, mid 60s, I'm in good shape to retire as well still and not be in my dad's boat.
Hmm. Yeah, man. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that story with our listeners here. Interesting. Okay. And so once we get up to 2 or 3 crews, once you start to get up to that higher number of crews, it pays for a bunch of those fixed costs, kind of overhead, and that's where you actually start to make some money from it.
Correct. Correct. That's the thought at least. I'll let you know how it works out.
Okay, fantastic. Great, Mike. Well, if folks are in the Boise area and they're looking for a great landscaping company to work with, what are a couple of the best ways to get in touch with you?
Facebook is a good way. They got to make sure on the Facebook part. There's another Alder Creek Landscaping in Oregon. They got to make sure they put the LLC on the Facebook part. AlderCreekLandscaping.com is the website, and there's a contact us link there, and they can get in touch via text or phone that way.
Okay, fantastic. And then the website is Alder Creek,
AlderCreekLandscape.com.
aldercreeklandscape.com. Fantastic. Well, Mike, thanks so much for coming on the show today and sharing your experience with running Alder Creek.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm stoked. I'm glad that you called.